Dr. Elena Kane pressed her palm against the quarantine barrier, watching the Veltran ambassador's vital signs flicker on the medical display. The crystalline being's internal light, once a brilliant azure, had dimmed to barely a whisper. 3 days of the galaxy's most advanced medical intervention had failed to halt whatever was killing him. "The neural matrix stabilizers aren't responding," reported Dr. Vex, the station's chief medical officer. His 4 arms moved with practiced efficiency across the control panel, each appendage managing a different aspect of the alien's care. "We've tried every protocol in the Galactic Medical Database." Elena studied the readings with growing concern. The Mercy's Edge Medical Station orbited the neutral world of Haven, hosting the most important diplomatic gathering in galactic history. Representatives from 12 major species had come to negotiate the end of the devastating border wars that had raged for over a decade. Now 3 delegates lay dying from an unknown pathogen, and the galaxy's greatest minds were stumped. "What about the Zilani healing chambers?" Elena asked, referring to the quantum field medical pods that could supposedly repair any biological damage. Dr. Vex's mandibles clicked in frustration. "Failed. The pathogen adapts to every treatment we attempt. It's unlike anything we've encountered." Elena watched the ambassador's chest rise and fall with mechanical precision, supported by the life support systems. Something nagged at her, a memory from her medical training back on Earth, before she'd joined the Interstellar Medical Corps. She'd been fresh out of residency then, working in an understaffed emergency room where high-tech solutions were often unavailable. "Dr. Vex, what if we're approaching this wrong?" Elena stepped closer to the barrier. "What if instead of trying to fight the pathogen directly, we focus on supporting the patient's natural healing processes?" The Kepler physician's compound eyes shifted toward her. "Natural healing?" "Dr. Kane, we're dealing with a sophisticated biological weapon here, not a common infection. The patient's immune system is completely overwhelmed." Elena felt the familiar fire of determination that had carried her through medical school and into the stars. "On Earth, we have a saying, first, do no harm. Sometimes the most advanced treatment isn't the best treatment." She turned to the nursing staff, a mix of species, each bringing their own expertise to the medical team. "I need a complete metabolic breakdown of the ambassador's current state. Not what the computers think he needs, but what his body is actually asking for." Dr. Vex's expression, as much as Elena could read on his alien features, showed skepticism. "Dr. Kane, with respect, human medicine is considered primitive by galactic standards. We've evolved beyond such simplistic approaches." "Primitive?" Elena felt her jaw tighten. "We kept people alive for thousands of years before we had quantum healing matrices. We learned to read the body's signals, to work with its natural defenses instead of overwhelming them." The medical bay fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Elena could feel the weight of doubt from her colleagues, but she'd felt this before, the moment when everyone else had given up, when the textbook solutions had failed and only intuition and hard-won experience remained. "Every great journey starts with a few brave explorers. Sci-Fi stellar conflict is just beginning, and your support means everything. If you're hungry for HFY battles and tales of human valor against alien might, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us bring these front lines to you." "Let me try," Elena said quietly. "Give me 6 hours with the ambassador. If I can't show improvement, I'll step back and let the advanced protocols continue." Dr. Vex hesitated, his 4 arms pausing in their work. "The diplomatic consequences if he dies under primitive human care. The diplomatic consequences if he dies under advanced galactic care are the same," Elena countered. "But at least we'll know we tried everything." Finally, the chief medical officer nodded. 6 hours, Dr. Kane, but I'm monitoring every vital sign." Elena smiled grimly and began gathering the basic supplies she'd need, not the sophisticated alien medical devices, but simple tools that any human doctor would recognize. Stethoscope, thermometer, basic blood analysis kit. Tools that had saved countless lives before the galaxy had ever heard of humanity. As she prepared to enter the quarantine chamber, Elena caught sight of herself in the polished metal surface of the medical cabinet. Just a human doctor, surrounded by the galaxy's most advanced medical technology. But sometimes she reminded herself, Being human was exactly what the situation required. The ambassador's crystalline form pulsed weakly as she entered the chamber, and Elena placed her perfectly ordinary human hands on the examination table beside him. Time to show the galaxy what human medicine could really do. Elena's hands moved with practiced certainty as she examined the Veltran ambassador, ignoring the sophisticated scanners that surrounded them. Through the observation window, she could see Dr. Vex and his team watching with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. The other medical staff had gathered as well. Word was spreading through the station that the human doctor was attempting something unprecedented. His core temperature is elevated by 2.3 degrees, Elena murmured, running her fingers along the ambassador's crystalline surface. The alien's body felt warm to the touch, something the advanced sensors had measured but not truly comprehended. And his respiratory rate is irregular, but not randomly so. There's a pattern. She pulled out her ancient stethoscope, a gift from her mentor back on Earth, and listened to the ambassador's internal sounds. The quantum scanners could analyze every molecule, but they couldn't hear what Elena was hearing, the subtle rhythms of a body fighting for survival. Fascinating, came Dr. Vex's voice through the intercom. The patient's biorhythms are showing minimal variation from established norms. Elena looked up at the observation window. That's because your scanners are looking for pathology, not adaptation. His body is trying to create a new equilibrium. Look at the secondary metabolic indicators. They're not failing, they're adjusting. She began taking notes the old-fashioned way, with a physical tablet and stylus. Each observation was cataloged not as data points, but as pieces of a larger puzzle. The ambassador's body was telling a story, and Elena was learning to read it. "Dr. Kane," called Nurse Val from the corridor, "the Terran delegate is showing similar symptoms. The Zentari representative as well." Elena's stomach tightened. 3 species, 3 completely different biologies, all succumbing to the same mysterious pathogen. But as she studied the ambassador's responses, a different picture began to emerge. "Dr. Vex, I need the complete genetic analysis of the pathogen," Elena said, her voice gaining confidence. "Not just the structure, I need to know how it's interacting with each species' immune response." "Dr. Kane, we've run every analysis. Run them again, but this time focus on the pathogen's adaptive mechanisms. I think it's designed to counter-react to medical intervention." Elena continued her examination, using techniques that were older than space travel. She checked reflex responses, observed skin tone changes, monitored breathing patterns. To the alien medical team, it looked primitive, even backwards. But Elena was building a comprehensive picture of how the ambassador's body was actually responding to the disease. "The pathogen," she said suddenly, straightening up. "It's not just adaptive, it's predictive. It's designed to anticipate and counter advanced medical responses." Dr. Vex's mandibles clicked rapidly. "That's impossible. How could any biological agent predict our treatment protocols?" Elena felt the pieces clicking together. Because it was designed by someone who understands galactic medicine. Someone who knows that your protocols always follow the same patterns. Isolate the pathogen, attack it directly, support the patient with technological intervention. She moved to the medical console, her fingers flying over the controls. But human medicine developed differently. We learn to work with the body's natural defenses, not override them. We treat symptoms and support healing, rather than directly attacking the disease. The ambassador's vital signs flickered on the display, and Elena watched as his body began to respond to the gentle supportive care she'd been providing. Fluid replacement, temperature regulation, basic nutritional support, nothing that would trigger the pathogen's adaptive responses. "His crystalline matrix is stabilizing," Dr. Vex reported, his voice filled with wonder. "Internal luminescence is increasing by 12%. Elena allowed herself a small smile. "He's not cured yet, but his body is fighting back. The pathogen was designed to counter aggressive medical intervention, but it doesn't know how to handle supportive care." She turned to face the observation window where the entire medical staff was now gathered. "I need to try this approach with the other patients. If I'm right, we might be able to buy time to develop a real cure." Dr. Vex's voice carried a new note of respect. "Dr. Kane, you may have found something extraordinary. But if this pathogen was designed to counter our medical protocols, then we're not just dealing with a disease, Elena finished. We're dealing with sabotage. Someone wanted the peace talks to fail, and they're using our own medical sophistication against us. As if on cue, the station's emergency alert system activated. The cold mechanical voice echoed through the medical bay. Attention all personnel. Additional cases of the unknown pathogen have been reported in sections 7 through 12. The station is now under medical quarantine. All diplomatic activities are suspended until further notice. Elena looked at the ambassador, whose light was growing steadily brighter under her care. The galaxy's most advanced medical technology had failed, but human intuition and ancient healing wisdom were succeeding. Now she had to prove that humanity's approach to medicine could save not just these patients, but the peace talks themselves. The real challenge was just beginning. Elena moved through the corridors of Mercy's Edge with grim purpose, her medical bag slung over her shoulder. In the past 6 hours, the mysterious pathogen had spread to 17 patients across 8 different species. The stations advanced. Medical systems were overwhelmed, their sophisticated protocols proving useless against the adaptive disease. The Zentari delegate is responding well to supportive care, reported Dr. Nash, one of the few human physicians on the station. His neurological functions are stabilizing. Elena nodded, checking her tablet. Each patient she'd treated with traditional human medical approaches was showing improvement, while those under advanced galactic care continued to deteriorate. The pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. "Dr. Kane," came Dr. Thex's voiceover. "The intercom, we need you in Laboratory 7 immediately. We've found something." Elena hurried through the sealed corridors, passing groups of anxious diplomatic staff. The peace talks had been suspended indefinitely, and tensions were rising. Several species were already blaming others for the outbreak, threatening to withdraw from the negotiations entirely. Laboratory 7 was a hive of activity. Dr. Thex stood before a massive holographic display showing the pathogen's genetic structure. Beside him, Dr. Morgan, the station's chief biochemist, manipulated the three-dimensional model with practiced ease. "The pathogen's adaptive matrix," Dr. Thex began, his 4 arms gesturing at different parts of the display, "contains pre-programmed responses to standard galactic medical protocols. It's not evolving, it's simply activating countermeasures." Elena studied the structure. Someone built this thing like a biological weapon system. But who has access to that kind of advanced biotechnology? Dr. Morgan stepped forward, her expression grim. "That's what we've been trying to determine. The genetic markers suggest it was created using techniques from at least 4 different species. But there's something else." The holographic display shifted, showing communication logs and data transfers. "We've been monitoring all transmissions from the station. 3 hours ago, we detected an unauthorized signal being sent to coordinates in the outer rim." Elena felt her stomach drop. Someone on the station is feeding information to an outside source. "More than that," Dr. Thex said grimly. "We think someone planted the pathogen deliberately. The initial outbreak pattern suggests it was introduced to the diplomatic quarters through the environmental systems." Elena began pacing, her mind racing. The militant factions, the ones who've been opposing the peace talks. They couldn't stop the negotiations through political means, so they decided to sabotage them with biological warfare. But why create a pathogen that specifically targets advanced medical treatment? Dr. Morgan asked. Elena stopped pacing, the answer crystallizing in her mind. Because they knew the station would respond with standard protocols. They wanted maximum casualties and minimum chances of recovery. They just didn't count on human medical approaches being different enough to work. The laboratory's communication system chimed, and Station Commander Pike's voice filled the room. "All senior medical staff to the command center immediately. We've got a situation." Elena and her colleagues hurried to the command center, where they found chaos. The main display showed the station's diplomatic section, where several species representatives were gathered in heated discussion. The translator systems were working overtime to keep up with the rapid-fire accusations and threats. "The Coven delegation is threatening to withdraw," Commander Pike reported, his weathered face showing the strain of the crisis. "They're claiming the humans deliberately infected their ambassador, to gain advantage in the negotiations. Elena felt anger flare in her chest. That's ridiculous. We're the ones who've been treating their ambassador successfully. Which is exactly why they're suspicious, Pike replied. They can't understand how human medicine succeeds where theirs fails, so they assume treachery. Dr. Vex stepped forward. Commander, we have evidence that the pathogen was deliberately engineered to counter galactic medical protocols. This is an act of sabotage, not an accident. Evidence is one thing, Pike said grimly. Proof is another. And right now, we've got 12 species ready to go to war over this. Elena moved to the communication console. Commander, I need to address the diplomatic assembly. If I can explain how the pathogen works and why human medical approaches are effective, maybe we can prevent this from escalating. Dr. Kane, Pike said seriously, you're talking about revealing medical secrets to potential enemies. Some of these species have been fighting each other for decades. Sir, Elena replied, if we don't work together on this, the pathogen will kill everyone on the station. The saboteurs are counting on our mutual suspicion to make their plan work. Pike hesitated, then nodded. You've got 15 minutes to make your case. But Elena, if this goes wrong, it won't just be the peace talks that are doomed. It'll be the entire galaxy. Elena straightened her shoulders, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on them. She was just a human doctor, but she was about to address the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The fate of the peace talks, and possibly the future of interstellar civilization, rested on her ability to convince ancient enemies to trust each other. Patch me through to the diplomatic assembly, Elena said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. It's time to show them what human medicine can really do. The communication system activated, and Elena found herself looking at representatives from 12 different species, each one suspicious, afraid, and ready to blame the others for the crisis that threatened to destroy everything they'd worked for. Elena stood before the assembled diplomatic representatives, her heart pounding as she faced the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The great assembly hall of Mercy's Edge had been converted into a secure conference room, with each delegation separated by emergency barriers. The tension was palpable. Centuries of mistrust and warfare had been barely contained by the promise of peace, and now that fragile hope was crumbling. Distinguished delegates, Elena began, her voice carrying through the translation systems. I am Dr. Elena Kane, Chief Medical Officer for the human contingent. I'm here to discuss the pathogen that's threatening our negotiations and our lives. The Corvan delegate, a massive reptilian being whose scales shimmered with anger, interrupted. Immediately. We will not listen to human lies. Your primitive medicine somehow succeeds where ours fails. This is clear evidence of human treachery. Murmurs of agreement rippled through several delegations. Elena felt the weight of their suspicion, but she pressed on. I understand your concerns, but I'm here to share information that could save all of us. The pathogen was engineered specifically to counter advanced galactic medical protocols. She activated the holographic display, showing the pathogen structure. This biological weapon was designed by someone who understands how each of your species approaches medicine. Every time you try to attack the pathogen directly, it adapts and becomes stronger. Dr. Vex stepped forward, his forearms gesturing at the display. The evidence is clear. The pathogen contains pre-programmed responses to our standard treatment protocols. It's not evolving, it's simply activating countermeasures that were built into it. The Zentari ambassador, a graceful being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, spoke next. If this is true, then why does human medicine succeed where ours fails? Elena felt this was the crucial moment. Because human medicine developed differently. We learn to work with the body's natural healing processes, not override them. We treat symptoms and support recovery, rather than directly attacking the disease. She moved to the center of the room, addressing each delegation directly. On Earth, we learned that sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the best solution. Sometimes healing requires patience, observation, and working with natural processes rather than against them. The Veltran ambassador, now recovered enough to participate in the discussion, spoke up. The human doctor's treatment saved my life. While our quantum healing matrices failed, Her simple supportive care allowed my body to fight back. "But how do we know this isn't part of a human plot?" demanded the Corvin delegate. "How convenient that only human medicine works against this pathogen." Elena felt frustration building, but she kept her voice calm. "Because we've identified the source of the pathogen. It's not coming from any of the species represented here. It's coming from the militant factions who want these peace talks to fail." She activated another section of the display, showing the communication intercepts Dr. Morgan had discovered. "Someone on this station has been feeding information to outside forces. The pathogen was introduced deliberately to cause maximum casualties and destroy the negotiations." Commander Pike stepped forward. "We've been monitoring all communications. The saboteurs are using this crisis to turn you against each other, exactly as they planned." The assembly fell silent as the implications sank in. Elena seized the moment. "They're counting on our differences to make their plan work. They knew that our medical approaches would fail against this pathogen, and they expected us to blame each other instead of working together." She walked to the center of the room, looking at each delegation in turn, but they made one miscalculation. They didn't account for the possibility that different approaches to medicine might actually be complementary. Human medicine succeeds because it's different, not because it's better. The Zentari ambassador pulsed with thoughtful energy. "You propose that we combine our approaches?" "Exactly," Elena replied. "We can synthesize a cure using human medical philosophy combined with your advanced technology. But it will require trust and cooperation between our species." Dr. Thex activated his own display. "The pathogen's adaptive matrix is sophisticated, but it has limitations. If we approach it using combined techniques, human supportive care to stabilize patients, alien technology to target the pathogen's weaknesses, we might be able to create a universal cure." The Corvin delegate's scales rippled with uncertainty. "This cooperation you propose, it would require sharing medical secrets that have been guarded for centuries." Elena nodded seriously. "Yes, it would. But the alternative is letting the saboteurs win. They're counting on our inability to trust each other." She moved to the medical console, her fingers flying over the controls. "I'm transmitting the complete data on human medical approaches to treating this pathogen. No secrets, no hidden agendas. Just the information you need to save your people." The gesture sent a ripple of surprise through the assembly. For a human to share medical knowledge so freely was unprecedented in galactic politics. "If Dr. Kane is willing to share her species' medical secrets," the Veltran ambassador said slowly, "perhaps we can do the same." One by one, the delegates began nodding agreement. The Zentari ambassador was the first to transmit his species' medical data, followed by the Corvin delegate, then the others. Elena watched in amazement as centuries of mistrust began to crumble in the face of shared necessity. "We have 6 hours before the pathogen reaches critical mass," Elena announced. "Let's show the galaxy what we can accomplish when we work together." The race against time had begun, and for the first time since the crisis started, Elena felt hope. The galaxy's greatest minds were finally united in common cause, and the saboteurs' plan was about to be turned against them. The combined medical teams worked with desperate efficiency in the main laboratory of Mercy's Edge. Elena stood at the center of the organized chaos, coordinating between species that had never collaborated before. Zentari energy manipulation techniques were being combined with Corvin biosynthesis, while Veltran quantum healing matrices processed data through human diagnostic algorithms. "The hybrid approach is working," reported Dr. Thex, his 4 arms managing multiple data streams simultaneously. "The pathogen's adaptive matrix can't counter the combined treatment protocols because it was never designed to face cooperative medical approaches." Elena felt a surge of pride as she watched the diverse medical teams working together. The Zentari ambassador had shared his species' understanding of cellular energy patterns, which perfectly complemented human techniques for supporting natural healing processes. The Corvin biosynthesis specialists had revealed how to rapidly produce targeted compounds, while the Veltran quantum matrices could deliver treatments at the molecular level. "Dr. Kane," called Dr. Morgan from across the laboratory, "we're ready for the first test synthesis." Elena moved to the central console, where a glowing chamber contained the prototype cure. It was unlike anything she'd ever seen. A perfect fusion of human medical philosophy and alien technological capability. The treatment would support the body's natural healing processes, while simultaneously delivering targeted therapy to counter the pathogen's adaptive mechanisms. "Begin the synthesis," Elena ordered, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. The chamber hummed with energy as 12 different species medical technologies worked in harmony. Elena watched the readouts, her heart racing as the cure took shape. Everything they'd learned about the pathogen, every insight from different medical traditions, was being combined into something greater than the sum of its parts. "Synthesis complete," announced Dr. Vex. "The hybrid cure is stable and ready for testing." Elena looked around the laboratory at the assembled medical team. Representatives from species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together with perfect coordination. The saboteurs' plan had backfired spectacularly. Instead of driving the galaxy apart, the crisis had brought them together. "Test subjects first," Elena said, moving toward the isolation chambers where the most critically ill patients were being maintained. "We'll start with volunteers from each species." The next 2 hours were tense as the cure was administered to willing test subjects. Elena monitored each patient personally, using her human medical intuition to complement the advanced diagnostic systems. The hybrid treatment worked exactly as designed. The pathogen's adaptive mechanisms were overwhelmed by the multi-species approach, while the patient's natural healing processes were supported and enhanced. 100% success rate, reported Dr. Morgan, her voice filled with wonder. "The cure is effective against the pathogen in all tested species." Elena felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Begin mass production immediately. We need to treat every infected individual on the station." As the medical teams worked to synthesize enough cure for all patients, Elena received a priority communication from Commander Pike. "Dr. Kane, we've identified the saboteurs." A militant cell from the Outer Rim managed to place operatives in the station's maintenance crew. "They're in custody now." Elena nodded grimly. "Good. Make sure they understand that their plan not only failed, but actually brought the galaxy closer together." The next several hours passed in a blur of medical activity. Elena moved from patient to patient, personally overseeing the administration of the hybrid cure. The Veltran ambassador was among the first to make a complete recovery, his crystalline form blazing with renewed health. The Zentari delegate's energy matrix stabilized perfectly, while the Kovan representative's biosystems returned to optimal function. "Dr. Kane," came a voice from behind her. Elena turned to find the entire diplomatic assembly gathered in the medical bay, watching as the last patients received their treatment. The Kovan delegate stepped forward, his massive form somehow managing to convey humility. "We owe you an apology, Dr. Kane. We doubted your intentions and questioned your methods." "We were wrong," Elena shook her head. "You were protecting your people. I understand that. But what we've accomplished here proves that we're stronger together than apart." The Zentari ambassador pulsed with warm energy. "Your species has given you us a gift, Dr. Kane. Not just the cure, but a new way of approaching medicine. You've shown us that cooperation can achieve what competition cannot." Over the following days, as the station returned to normal operations, Elena found herself at the center of a transformation that went far beyond medicine. The peace talks resumed with a new spirit of cooperation, and the hybrid cure became the foundation for a new field of collaborative medicine. "The Galactic Medical Council wants to establish a new research institute," Dr. Vex informed her as they stood in the observation deck, watching the diplomatic ships prepare for departure. "They're calling it the Kane Institute for Cooperative Medicine." Elena smiled, watching the stars beyond the station. "I'm honored, but this isn't about me. It's about what we can accomplish when we work together." "The galaxy will remember what happened here," Dr. Vex said seriously. "How a single human doctor brought together the greatest minds in the galaxy and saved the peace talks. You've become more than a physician, Dr. Kane. You've become a legend." Elena touched the simple stethoscope that still hung around her neck. Her connection to the ancient traditions of human medicine. "I'm just a doctor who believed that healing is about more than technology. It's about understanding, compassion, and working together." As the last diplomatic ship departed Mercy's Edge, carrying news of the successful peace negotiations to every corner of the galaxy. Elena reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She'd started as just a human doctor on a medical station. But through crisis and cooperation, she'd helped forge a new era of galactic unity. The saboteurs had intended to destroy the peace talks, but their biological weapon had instead become the catalyst for an unprecedented level of cooperation. The galaxy's species were no longer just ending their wars. They were beginning a new chapter of shared prosperity and mutual understanding. Elena Kane, the human doctor who had saved the galaxy, had become a legend. But more importantly, she had proven that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from advanced technology or superior firepower, but from the simple human virtues of compassion, cooperation, and the unwavering belief that healing is possible when different minds work together toward a common goal. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity had found its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as healers.